Thanks so much for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Charlene Aaron. Winter has arrived a month early. A massive Arctic storm blasting across much of the country. The upper Midwest is being hit hard by heavy snow and icy air, and temperatures are plummeting fast. In Denver, plunging 20 degrees in just 30 minutes. The blast of wintry weather swept across the upper Midwest Monday, bringing heavy snow in some areas and plunging temperatures across the region. It's a recipe that's creating widespread chaos for drivers.
I've been sitting here for about 2 hours, and I got, 15 trucks behind me.
In Duluth, Minnesota, icy roads caused a 16-car pileup.
Just kind of a landslide of cars. Everything slid down the hill.
Minneapolis got more than 15 inches of snow Monday, with more on the way. The frigid weather is being pushed in by a powerful storm that hit Alaska with hurricane-force winds over the weekend and is threatening to bury several states in snow and send temperatures as much as 40 degrees below average. 53 was the high in Billings, Montana on Sunday. Monday, it barely hit 20, and a low of only 8 degrees is expected today. The polar cold is bringing lows in the teens and single digits into Iowa, Kansas, and Colorado this week. And freezing temperatures are forecast as far as South Texas. And while most want to put off winter for a few more weeks, some are welcoming it with open arms.
I thought it was really cool because I haven't seen snow in a really long time.
And forecasters say things will get warmer over the weekend, but it won't stay that way. Another Arctic blast is on the way for next week.
Iraq's military has recaptured the heart of the town that's home to the country's largest oil refinery. Iraq State Television is reporting Iraqi troops drove out Islamic State extremists from the center of the town of Bajai. But a senior military official said clashes continue in other parts of the town. The U.S. said Monday coalition aircraft conducted 7 airstrikes near the town since Friday.
A Pentagon official says U.S. airstrikes on ISIS were not targeting Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the top leader of the terrorist group. U.S. officials say they are unable to confirm reports that al-Baghdadi was wounded or killed by airstrikes over the weekend. But Iraqi officials say an Iraqi airstrike Saturday wounded al-Baghdadi during a meeting in the town of Qom near the Syrian border. The weekend U.S. airstrike happened near Mosul.
Israel says the Palestinian Authority is behind a sharp increase in terror attacks. It's because Palestinian leaders are telling their people Israel is trying to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. On Tuesday, 2 Palestinians apparently took the message to heart and knifed 2 Israelis to death in separate attacks. CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell has the story.
Palestinians tweeted, "The knife intifada has begun." Knife-wielding Palestinians murdered 2 Israelis in separate terror attacks on Monday. A terrorist stabbed a 20-year-old soldier to death at a Tel Aviv bus stop in the afternoon. A few hours later, another terrorist stabbed a 26-year-old woman to death at the same bus stop where 3 Israeli teenagers were kidnapped and murdered by Hamas terrorists in June. They're the latest in a series of Palestinian terror attacks carried out using everyday items like cars and knives to murder Israelis. Israel blames the Palestinian Authority for inciting Palestinians to terror.
This incitement calls for the use of all means, as they call it, in order to make sure that Jerusalem, and especially the Temple Mount, is clean from Jews.
Yossi Cooperwasser from the Ministry of Strategic Affairs told journalists earlier that speeches like this one by PA President Mahmoud Abbas, known as Abu Mazen, is causing the trouble.
It is not enough for us to say that there are defenders. We must all become defenders of Al-Aqsa. It is not enough for us to say the settlers might come to Al-Aqsa Mosque. They did come, and they must not be allowed in the complex. We must prevent their entrance into the complex by any means possible.
Hamas, which is part of Abbas's Palestinian government, was more explicit.
Even he who owns nothing but his faith has a kitchen in his house in which he has a knife. He must grab his knife and confront the Zionist enemy. Another one owns no weapon but does own a car. He must push down on the gas pedal in order to take revenge of the settlers who corrupted the land and defiled the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I say there must be an uprising now.
This was, in my mind, understood by the people on the ground as a license to do things on the ground.
In response to the attacks, Weeks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said they would fight the incitement from the Palestinian Authority.
Those who protest against the state of Israel and in favor of the Palestinian state, I say to them, simply move there, to the Palestinian Authority or Gaza. I promise you that the state of Israel will not make it difficult for you. But for those who stay here, we will make it difficult if you are a rioter or a terrorist.
Palestinians claim Al-Aqsa is in danger because a growing number of Jewish Israelis want the right to pray on the Temple Mount. It's the site of 2 Jewish temples in Bible times, but Palestinians say the temple in Jewish history here never existed. The Israeli government says they'll defer to the Muslims and maintain the status quo. That means for now only Muslims can pray on the coveted plateau. In the meantime, Israelis are dealing with the possibility of terror attacks any place, any time. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
As of Monday, the United States has no active cases of Ebola. New York City health officials say Dr. Craig Spencer is now free of the virus. The 33-year-old doctor caught the disease while treating patients in Guinea. Spencer was diagnosed with Ebola October 23rd. His case sparked panic in New York City after it was revealed that he had taken the subway and gone bowling before checking himself into the hospital.
President Obama is weighing in on net neutrality. On Monday, he embraced a radical change in how the U.S. government treats internet service.
I'm laying out a plan to keep the internet free and open. And that's why I'm urging the Federal Communications Commission to do everything they can to protect net neutrality for everyone. They should make it clear that whether you use a computer, phone, or tablet, internet providers have a legal obligation not to block or limit your access to a website.
Critics say of net neutrality, it will do the opposite of what the president says, eliminating internet freedom and creating new government regulation. Net neutrality is the idea that internet service providers shouldn't block or manipulate data moving across their networks.
The U.S. Postal Service is dealing with a major security breach. It appears to have fallen victim to hackers in China. Postal Service officials say information about their employees, including Social Security numbers, may have been compromised. The Washington Post reports the situation was discovered in mid-September. Officials say local post office customer information was not affected. The announcement comes as President Obama is visiting Beijing for economic talks. The FBI and other agencies are investigating the breach.
15 missing hikers from a church group have been rescued and reunited with their families. The group from a Seventh-day Adventist church failed to return Sunday from the San Gabriel Mountains near Los Angeles. They were rescued by helicopter Monday after sending a text message for help.
We were tired, but we just decided that the best thing we could do is just stay there and rest. And we did as much as we could. We built fire and to keep ourselves warm. God was always with us, and we're good.
The group had become wet and exhausted while rappelling down waterfalls and ran out of daylight. All the hikers are alive and doing well today.
Coming up, Paw and Stripes. See how one unique organization is bringing healing to America's war heroes. Doctors diagnose thousands of veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder every year. Some have found comfort and healing with the help of trained therapy dogs.
But that can be expensive, so one veteran is making it his mission to deliver a dog to all who need one. His work is the focus of a new television series. It's called Dogs of War. In this episode of Dogs of War, we meet Michael.
It's somebody to walk up to me and say, well, you know, I'm glad you're home. You look fine. I'm not fine. You know, I would rather have my leg just blown off to show that something's wrong with me.
He's just one of thousands of military veterans struggling with PTSD. For Michael, it's a 10-year battle he felt hopeless to overcome.
Good boy.
That is until the organization Paws and Stripes paired Michael with a service dog.
It was really important to me that we use dogs from the shelter.
Oh, look at this guy.
Being a service dog gives them a tremendous purpose.
I will not give up till every veteran that needs a service dog has one. You may say they're just dogs, but to me, they're heroes.
Paws and Stripes is an organization that provides service dogs for military veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. It was started by Army veteran Jim Stanek, who experienced PTSD following his service in the Army. Jim and his wife Lindsay join us now to talk about their work and their new television series, Dogs of War. Jim, I heard you say that veterans suffering with PTSD see the world differently. How so?
Lindsay and I started this program together based off of what I had experienced overseas. You know, I always had the experience of every time we left the wire, the base, to go out on a mission, whether it was a patrol or whether it was searching for a high-value target, you never knew if that was going to be like, you know, your last meal, your last joke with the guys. It was always just this constant life or death situation that you always were involved in.
And you bring that home with you, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, that's some baggage that you bring back with you in the form of post-traumatic stress disorder and or traumatic brain injury, depending on, you know, what you dealt with.
Among other things.
Yeah, amongst, you know, hearing loss and everything else under the sun, to the point where, you know, even the simple task of going grocery shopping was a really difficult challenge that I had to try to work through and try to figure out how to get it done. And I couldn't at first.
Wow. Now, you two, as you said, started Paws and Stripes in part because of the enormous cost for someone as well to get a service dog. How expensive are we talking, and how great of a need is this when it comes to our military men and women?
Well, there's a wide range of costs in getting a service dog. A lot of programs will charge anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000. On the lower end, it can be $15,000. And pretty much every program has a waiting list. We do as well, simply because there's just only so many service dog programs out there that work with PTSD and TBI. So, and there's a huge demand for it.
A lot of the veterans that I know and that we have worked with and assisted have all stated that, you know, they're looking for that light at the end of the tunnel. They're looking for that one piece of hope that they can hold on to. Because they've tried so many other treatment forms, and not one treatment really truly works wholeheartedly. You have to put a bunch of things together, and I kind of call it it's like your tool bag. Mm-hmm. How many tools do you have? And those tools are your recovery process. You know, can you put a bunch of those together, not just one, so that at any moment in time that you can pull one out of the bag in order to assist you throughout your day?
Where do you think you'd be without your dog? I believe you call him your battle buddy.
Yeah. You know, I really don't truly want to think of that where I would be, because, you know, I look at it and I think that I would not be in a very good place in this world. You know, I truly look back and I say that I'm probably one of the luckiest guys in the world.
Can you get your dog? Is she around?
Oh, yeah. This is Sarge.
Oh. And you've had her how long?
Gosh, what?
She's 6, so we've had her about 5.5.
5.5 years, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Real quick, what do you want viewers to learn about our war heroes from this show?
I will say this. I tell our veterans this every time that they're having a down moment. You know, a lot of people kind of wonder, you know, are we crazy? You know, and I say, no, we're not crazy. We're normal for what we've been through. And, you know, our version of our normal, well, situations that we've been through dictate kind of how we become and what we deal with now in the civilian life. You know, you may not realize the person that you walk past is a veteran and may just sometimes need somebody to talk to, like, you know, how's your day going? What's going on? You know, and thank a veteran.
Indeed.
You know, a lot of us don't like to be considered heroes because I don't think I am one. I think I was just doing a job, and a lot of veterans feel that way too. But a thank you goes a long way.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you both. The A&E original series Dogs of War begins today, Veterans Day, at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. We thank you. We're praying for you, and God bless you both.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Keep up the good work.
Up next, a wounded warrior project from an actor who played one on the big screen. We'll talk with the real-life Lieutenant Dan, Gary Sinise.
For more than a decade, thousands of U.S. troops have been injured fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. Many celebrities work to help our veterans.
That's right. And one of the most passionate is actor Gary Sinise. Mark Martin talked one-on-one with the film and TV star, a man known by millions as Lieutenant Dan.
Thought I'd try out my sea legs.
Well, you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Yes, I know that.
His portrayal of Vietnam veteran Lieutenant Dan Taylor in Forrest Gump earned him a Best Supporting Actor nomination. On a personal level, it led to Gary Sinise's involvement with the organization Disabled American Veterans and a deep devotion to the well-being of our troops.
Then September 11th came along. We deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. People started getting hurt, and the thought of what happened to our Vietnam veterans happening to our active duty folks today was very difficult for me. It wasn't something I could sit back and let happen again.
So Sinise started visiting American military men and women overseas. Eventually, the actor, who is also a musician, asked the USO if he could take a band on a tour. The USO agreed, and the Lieutenant Dan Band was born.
We're trying to get to every single base around the world before we're done with this journey.
They deserve our attention, our respect, and our gratitude, and whatever we can do for them.
Gary plays the bass in the Lieutenant Dan Band, and on average they play about 30 to 40 shows a year, with around 75% of those for USO, charities, or benefits.
The VA can only do so much and only does so much. Sometimes the VA can actually make things a little more difficult than it should be for our veterans. So thankfully, there are some good organizations out there in the nonprofit world that are trying to fill those gaps, and that's why I created my foundation.
And the mission of the Gary Sinise Foundation is to serve and honor veterans, first responders, their families, and others in need.
God bless our military!
In addition to morale, the Gary Sinise Foundation is partnering with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to build smart homes for the most severely injured veterans.
They're run by iPads, they have elevators, they have sensors all around. If you're confined to a wheelchair and you can't reach something, you know, the cupboards can come down to your level and that kind of thing. So we want these warriors to come home and have an opportunity in life to at least be independent within their living space.
We need to take care of you before the battle, we need to take care of you during the battle, and we need to take care of you after the battle and make sure you know that we're grateful for everything you do for us.
And the band will do that in concerts across 10 states. The need is great. According to the Wounded Warrior Project, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan led to physical injuries for more than 50,000 service members. In addition, an estimated 400,000 battle combat-related stress, major depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Marine Staff Sergeant Isaac Zahn is a member of the Wounded Warrior Battalion East.
I was blown up 8 times doing route clearance, and I sustained enough blast injuries where I had to get my right leg amputated below the knee.
Staff Sergeant Zahn is grateful for the efforts of Sinise and his band.
Love it, everything about it. It's great. My wife was with me and she's also enjoying it, so it's good.
Marine Gunnery Sergeant David Post also had to get part of a leg amputated, the victim of an improvised explosive device.
My limb was just mangled to the point where there was no recovery. I tried to save it after a year and a half, and it wasn't working. I had to give it up.
Post says his faith, family, and support groups like the Gary Sinise Foundation are critical in helping him move on with his life.
God core country, and that's the way it works. I do have a family, and I'm Catholic. The support group has been amazing, and that's what it's about. When I feel like I'm down and I can't do anymore, the people around me always bring me back with the help of God.
Sinise says his faith also motivates him to reach out to veterans like Post and Zahn.
I'm Catholic. My wife's a Catholic. We've raised our kids all Catholic. My daughter goes to Catholic school. They've all gone to Catholic school. Service above self is something that's part of the faith, obviously, and it's something that I've just been privileged to learn over the years.
The Wounded Warrior Project says on its website, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Gary Sinise and his foundation agree, wanting to make sure every veteran feels valued.
There is a heavy cost for freedom, and you are our freedom providers.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Portsmouth, Virginia.
And what a great project. And meanwhile, we want to wish all of our veterans a very happy Veterans Day.
Indeed, indeed. Nice to see Lieutenant Dan and the Dan Band at work.
Wonderful.
Indeed.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back. And finally today, serving food to the homeless is usually seen as a charitable act of kindness.
But in one Florida town, feeding the less fortunate could get you in trouble with the law.
Indeed, at least that's the case for an elderly chef in Fort Lauderdale. CBN News' Caitlin Burke has his story.
Meet 90-year-old Arnold Abbott. He's been feeding Fort Lauderdale's homeless population for decades.
We serve two entrees at every feeding.
But his good work has come to an end. A new city law makes it a crime to feed the homeless in public. When Abbott recently violated the ordinance, he was arrested on the spot.
One of the police officers came over and said, "Drop that plate right now." And so I was carrying a weapon.
Why is he being arrested? Shame on you! Shame on you!
Fort Lauderdale's mayor says it's a matter of public safety. He says the homeless turn public spaces into open-air latrines.
There are right ways to do it and there are wrong ways to do it. We're simply asking that he does it in the right location.
Abbott started feeding the homeless as a tribute to his late wife, and he says he won't be bound by red tape.
These are the poorest of the poor. They have nothing. They don't have a roof over their head. And who could turn them away?
Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
The city's mayor says he wants to work with Abbott to figure out a better way for him to feed the city's homeless.
And Abbott doesn't plan on making any changes to his operation. He says he will be serving food to the homeless Wednesday on a Fort Lauderdale beach. Good for him. Well, that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
We want to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do it on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you join us again right here next time. Make it a terrific Tuesday, everybody.